Hello my YouTube fans, your canine friend Rascal is here, and welcome to day 5 of Star vs. the Forces of Evil week. Now today's video is going to be a bit different. I'm going to let you guys in on what I consider the top 10 best episodes of season 1 of Star. Now before I start, I have to warn you that I will be going into detail about each episode, so there will be major spoilers ahead. If you just started watching the show and haven't finished season 1, please stop this video now and go finish the season before watching this video. Also, there may be a few disagreements with my choices, but this is only my personal opinion, so please be kind in the comments. Without further ado, let's take a look at the top 10 best episodes of season 1. Number 10. School Spirit. If there's one thing this show's definitely good at, it's craziness. In this episode, Echo Creek's football team, the Awesome Opossums, is going up against a rival team called the Warriors. So the students, including Star, do everything they can to help their team win. But Marco fails to tell Star the whole battle is just a football game. So Star thinks it's an actual war and booby traps the entire football field. From there, it is nothing but non-stop craziness, and it also helps with some really good laughs. It has some of my favorite moments, especially this one. And the whole episode is just crazy, from Marco trying to protect his friend from getting stolen by the rival team, to Star coming up with these elaborate booby traps for the rival team, especially when she thinks that the trophy case is a memorial. All in all, this episode is just jam-packed with fun, craziness, jokes, and it may not be plot focused, but it's still entertaining to watch. Just don't ever let Star play football ever again. Number 9. Quest Buy. In this episode, Star's wand is running low for some reason that's never brought up again, and needs to go to Quest Buy to get a battery charger, because if she doesn't charge it, the wand will be dead forever. Which is funny because this is never brought up ever again in the show. So I guess it's just a joke? Anyway, so this case kind of shows the difference of how Star and Marco see life. One is organized and one is chaotic. And at the same time, they have to fight Ludo, who's also at this magic store, and they pretty much just have to fight off his monsters at the same time fighting the charger. And it's pretty much like walking in a Home Depot. You can't find your way out. Once again, this is just not a lore. Most of season 1 was just filler, but they did a heck of a job making it entertaining. From just seeing the monsters get beaten with random pieces, to the Riddle Sphinx getting outsmarted by a smartphone, everything about this episode is just tons of fun. And especially the payoff, well, turns out Marco just sucked up the battery charger, so they pretty much just went there for nothing. But yeah, this is a really good episode and a lot of fun. And this is definitely why it earns my number 9 on my list. Number 8. Muni Pendants Day. This was one of the few episodes that actually had plot. Actual plot didn't really start till the second half of episode 8. But this when it was about to show that the story was starting to get a little more serious, especially now that Toffee was introduced. Star gathers her friends to help celebrate Muni's biggest holiday, Muni Pendants Day, a holiday in which they celebrate the day Muni's came to the new land, and they pretty much drive out the monsters and call it their own land. Yeah, I think this is supposed to reference something we have today, but we're not going to go into that right now. For the people who are more sensitive, we're just going to skip over that, just to start it. It's still pretty funny. It has its humorous moments, but there are tones where it does keep serious, especially when Toffee commands the monsters to go get the on for Ludo. We start to see a little more of Toffee before the season finale. He really doesn't like the Monster Massacre, and he really doesn't like Ludo or his monsters, especially when he made this comment and no one heard it, even though Buffer was right in front of him.
I will go. I thought you might, you fat bag of garbage.
This also shows some big character development for Star. She realizes that the monsters may not be as bad as she thinks, considering that the Muni's actually kicked the monsters out of their land and took it as their own. And seeing that the monsters were just small and the Muni's were exaggeratedly overpowered. So from this point, Star really did not fight monsters as much as he used to unless they posed a threat, which actually shows that she understood that this is not right. And what also happens near the end, the Buffrog gets kicked out of the castle on top of it. This is showing that Toffee's starting to show his true motives more and more. All in all, a good episode, and it goes into the little bit of the Munian lore, which this season was kind of lacking in until next season, but that's a story for another video. And that's why Muni Pendants Day is not only a controversial episode, but it also is a great episode to be featured on my number 8 list. Number 7. Sleep spells. Now this one is not really as popular as I thought it would be. Most people don't like episodes that are totally filler. But if you remember this season, it pretty much was filler. It didn't really have a plot until the 8th episode. So you kinda have to give them some slack. Season 2 is lore-filled. Sorry, spoiler alert. Okay, so in this episode, Star starts casting spells in her sleep and she's unaware of it. And she's kind of making a mess of the house, causing rainforests to come out of nowhere, giant lion cats, zapping people. It's a whole mess. So Marco becomes the ever-popular Dr. Marco, PhD, to help figure out what's wrong with Star.
Transform? Whoa! Glasses, paper, clothes, book. Dr. Marco, PhD.
It was kind of funny to see him helping her because he seems to keep track of how many times who saved who, which was kind of weird for a bit. He spends like 3 days trying to see what's making Star do these sleep spells, and he kind of comes up with the solution that it's mother issues, which she has, but that's not why she's doing it. It turns out on the 4th night, when they think she's cured, she starts almost blowing up the house, and it turns out to be a princess named Princess Smooshy on the run from St. O's guards, and she wants to switch his faces with Star so she can be in disguise and she can go in her place. This would have been a great plan if she looked like her, but she's kind of naive.
You see, we're both big girls. We got the same highs and lows, the same east and west. You can hardly tell us apart, except for in the face.
Once again, another filler episode, but a really fun one. Seeing Marco try to help Star without using violence, and his Dr. Michael PhD outfit is always worth a laugh. Princess Mushiel gets some laughs by the ever-popular camera phone, which is now one of my favorite quotes from the show.
Camera phone, camera phone, camera phone.
And it's kind of heartwarming to see that how far Marco will go to save her just in this little episode, even though he pretty much fails in both violence and psychology to help the girl. Even though this is not a popular episode, it's still a big favorite of mine, and that's why there's a number 7 spot on this list.
It's okay, Star. Identifying the problem is the first step to recovery. Recovery.
Goodness.
Number 6. The Banagic Incident. Now this is pretty much possibly the least popular episode of the season and quite possibly the series. And I kind of see why and kind of don't. It's a really fun episode, but it also kind of doesn't make much sense. Star reads in a magazine that there's this earth magic device called the Banagic Wand, which is pretty much just an ice cream maker in the shape of a banana. And please do not make any innuendo jokes with this. So she tries to convince Marco to take her to the better store to go get it, but he has to do karate. And basically the whole episode is just Star trying to get the Banagic Wand and Marco's karate class. Not much else. I do agree that there's not really much going on here, but it's still fun, especially Star. And a lot of people think that she was acting really stupid this episode, but she was just acting really crazy to me, and I kind of like it. So the A plot focuses on Star trying to get to the store, and she kind of goes these weird ways of interpreting the earth directions, and I don't know how she even comes up with how each place works, but somehow she found her way to the store. And then Marco's story was pretty simple. He just needed to channel his emotions while walking down some coals. Yeah, I know, not much there, but still, it was fun to watch, and I consider this one of the funniest episodes. The only thing that kind of threw me off was the ending, and you know what I'm talking about.
Sorry, I've underestimated you.
You underestimated me?
Yeah, I did. This stuff looks delicious, though.
There was a fly on it.
What just happened?
That scene just came out of nowhere. I didn't know what the heck that was about. This could have been foreshadowing for season 2 or what? Well, either way, whether you like it or you hate it, this episode deserves the number 6 spot on this top 10 list. Just a little bit of magic, a little lot of magic.
Friendship magic.
Number 5. Party with a Pony. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times I've seen this episode. My mother watches this show with me, and I've watched this episode like 50 times. It's her absolute favorite. And to be honest, it's mine too. It's only the second half of the first episode and are really in the crazy. Okay, so what happens in this episode is that Star's friend from Muni, Flying Princess Ponyhead, voiced by Jenny Slate, comes to visit her to have a day out. But she's also very jealous of the time she's spending with Marco and is constantly trying to get rid of him throughout the entire trip. Little does Star and Marco know that she's actually being tracked by the guards sent from the same reform school for wayward princesses. She spends the whole episode just trying to have much fun with Star as she can, and boy does she have so many memorable moments. She becomes instantly a fan favorite, which is kind of hard to believe considering the fact that it takes a while for people to warm up to her before they actually like her. And yeah, it does kind of weird you out that she's got a floating head and no body, but give it by the end of the episode, you're totally used to it. It also shows how much she's kind of possessive of Star and possibly other things, considering the fact she kind of threatened to slice Marco if he replaced her. Despite her kind of dark themes, she's really a fun character and just a lot of fun to hang out with. And this is probably one of the greatest lines in the whole episode.
Ponyhead, let's go to the Amethyst Arcade. Marco will have more fun there. No way, girl. I'm getting my dance on.
Okay, I know that can be taken the wrong way, but it's still hilarious. Near the end, Marco gets captured by the guards, which is possibly foreshadowing for future events, and Ponyhead tries to take Star away. Once she realizes she's lied to her, she pretty much calls her out on it. And feeling bad for her friend and seeing how much she cares about Marco in just one episode, she agrees to go save him. And here comes line number 2 of one of the Ponyhead memorable quotes.
Oh, hey, creeps! I heard you're looking to ride with a pony. So come and get me!
In the end, it turns out her father, King Ponyhead, was the one that called the guards in the first place. I don't want to know what she did to get sent to this place. And Ponyhead gives Star her dimensional scissors, and she turns herself in to be taken. But she also vows that no jail can hold her. Despite 9 episodes later, she's still in the school. So, yeah, Ponyhead's a liar. If crazy is what you're looking for, and you want to party with a pony, then you know who to go to.
But don't worry about me. No jail can hold on to me for long.
Number 4. Monstar Arm. Possibly one of the darkest episodes of Star Wars Force of Evil up to this point, which is saying a lot because this is supposed to be the lighthearted season. In this episode, Marco goes up against Jeremy Birnbaum, so he tries to break 3 boards at once and prepare for going up against him in the tournament, but he ends up breaking his arm in the process. So Star casts a spell on his arm to repair it immediately, but listening to the spell, it doesn't really sound like a bone repairing spell. But instead of fixing it, it turns it into a giant tentacle. At first, Marco hates the new arm, and I don't see how the parents didn't see this. I mean, he was wearing it for 3 days. How the heck? But when it starts to improve his popularity at school, facing the bullies and getting the attention of Jacqueline Thomas and some other girls, he actually starts to like it. And this is also the episode of the biggest innuendo joke probably of the entire series. Let's just say this thing is has a double meaning to it, and leave it at that.
Quit touching yourself.
So Marco actually starts to become obsessed with the arm, using it to work out and to beat the boards. When Star tells Marco that she had the spell to get rid of it, he really doesn't want to let go of it. It soon reveals the monster has a mind of its own and is trying to take control of Marco. And considering its goals, it's probably a good thing they try to get rid of it now. This episode also showed a darker side of Marco. That he can be a nice and caring guy, but when he came to power, he became bloodthirsty and violent. This is probably why we haven't seen Monstar Arm come in 2 seasons. I think they're saving him up for something else. When Marco gets to the tournament, he literally beats that daylight out of Jeremy, which he kinda deserved considering what he does in this series, and it tries to eat him. When he realizes that it is taking advantage of him, it tries to out Marco too. Star eventually gets rid of the Monstar Arm, but we're left with this disturbing message as it disintegrates. Now, we haven't seen Monstar Arm in Season 1 or Season 2, so we don't know what's going to happen with the arm now. Is it still in him, or is something else going on with it? A slightly darker episode than usual, but still kind of fun, and it shows a little bit of Marco's character. An episode filled with dark themes and also lighthearted. This is one episode that you definitely won't forget. And as for Monstar Arm, we're still waiting for you, buddy. Number 3. Blood Moon Ball. This is the episode that pretty much drove the fandom out of their mind. Heck, this episode was so popular it was even nominated for an Annie at one point. So in this one, Star's ex-boyfriend Tom, voiced by Ryder Strong, comes to invite her to the Blood Moon Ball, which is to celebrate a ritual that happens every 667 years. Marco obviously doesn't want her to go, but after a brief conversation with Tom, Star agrees to go. What kind of worries me is that she doesn't really explain why she wants to go. She just says it's a different kind of fun. I don't know what that could mean, so we're just gonna leave that to the radar. So when Star goes to the ball, she kind of sees that Tom really is trying to control his anger, but he really needs his rabbit and his counselor to stay calm the entire time. Meanwhile, Marco, still sad, stays at home and pretty much just eats his problems away with some tortilla chips. But out of nowhere, a strange voice is calling to tell him to go to the ball. Well, we still don't know what that was. Well, what was that anyway? Was it the moon? Was it the sea captain of a ship? I know I'm terrible at jokes. So Marco arrives at the ball in disguise and grabs Star just as the blood moon shines down on them. This is the episode that drove Star co-shippers insane. Pretty much this cemented the ship, at least right now. When Tom finds out that someone's taking his girl, he gets pissed off, which results in Star freezing him in a giant block of ice. When they get home, Star is pretty much angry at Marco for not trusting her to take things on herself, and states that she doesn't need a hero, she needs a friend. And boy, does that come to bite her in the behind later this series. The two eventually make up, but the episode ends on a pretty nice note. It was a great episode. Even if it didn't have monster punching and magic blast, it was still a great episode, and for the Star Coast shippers. Also, this also showed off when a new animation team was taking over, and the way they animated the dance was absolutely beautiful. All the reds blended beautifully together as they dance. They really want to show off the new animation. This is why Blood Moon Ball earns the number 3 spot on our list and the number 1 spot in Star Coast shippers' hearts. Number 2. St. Olga's Reform School for Wayward Princesses. In this half-hour special, Ponyhead is still stuck in that school she said that couldn't keep her, and Star plans to break out for her birthday. This whole episode was pretty much like its own prison break episode, even have references to other movies like Escape to Witch Mountain and Clockwork Orange and other jail movies. It also carries a really dark tone with it, maybe because, oh no, it looks like a prison, but it's still a really good episode, possibly the second darkest one next to Monster Arm. The headmistress, Miss Heinous, voiced by Jessica Walter, is in charge of this and makes sure that every princess stays at this place. And is pretty much convinced that every princess should be proper and prim, and of course every stereotype princess you've ever seen that Disney has done. I can't really go into detail about this episode because there's just so much that happens. There's this prophecy room in there that people think was foreshadowing for the rest of the series, and after seeing season 2, I think it might be true. Second, we also get to the introduction of Princess Turdina. And we learn that Miss Heinous could very well be a member of the Butterfly family, knowing that she has clubs on her cheeks just like the rest of them. Marco even starts a revolution with the princesses with his immortal words, and leads the revolution of princesses and breaks down the school. Ponyhead's finally free and so are the rest of the princesses, and they pretty much vow that they'll never return to this place ever again, and so far they haven't. By the end of the episode, when Miss Heinous makes her club disappear again, she finds the hairpin Marco left behind, and she uses it to track him down, and showing that she will be coming to Earth for him in season 2. This was just fun. Lots and lots of fun. And keeps this dark tone and pretty much seeing like there's no hope, but there always will be. It's just a lot of fun in this episode, especially with the school's message of being prom and perfect and prime, and pretty much just having no opinion of your own. And it also kind of speaks a lot about the Disney princess we are seeing nowadays. And we'll be looking forward to seeing Miss Venus in season 2, obviously, even though her episode was kind of disappointing. So, let's move on to our final episode. And remember, it's not criminal to be an individual. And the number 1 episode of season 1 is Storm the Castle. Yeah, you probably knew this was coming, but dang, it's a really, really good episode. In this half-hour season finale, Marco gets kidnapped by Toffee and is pretty much demanding ransom for Star. He demands that she comes alone and bring the wand only. This kind of worries Mr. and Mrs. Diaz, and she ends up calling the police, who are of no help. But they do provide this bit of dark foreshadowing.
The thing about magic is, if you don't use it wisely, you can lose everything.
She also sees them unexpectedly teaming with Buff Frog, who's now kicked out of the castle, and Ludo, also kicked out. We also get to see a bit of interaction between Toffee and Marco, and seeing strangely how similar they were. And he's actually trying to be hospitable to them rather than being, you know, a criminal. But the one thing that kind of ticked me off was why he constantly wanted to eat the sandwich. What was so special about this sandwich that he wanted him to eat it and he refused? Did it give him out magical powers? Star ends up storming the castle, as the title suggests, blasting up Toffee's arm and breaks open the cage. Well, she attempts to, but it remains closed. This is the first time she actually used her dip down powers and blows up the cage, only for it to regenerate right back. And we also get a bit of more dark foreshadowing when Toffee says this about the cage, and I kind of think he's referencing to himself as well.
Stop, 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 stop!
That's not going to work again. That crystal's twice as strong now.
So Star pretty much surrenders and gives the wand to Toffee, but he refuses it and instead wants her to destroy it.
What?
Surprise!
Ew, don't make that face ever again. When Star says she can't, Toffee tells her that she actually knows the whispering spell, which was the first spell her mother taught her. And how the heck does he know this? Star does end up destroying the wand and Marco is freed, but they don't escape just yet. The wand ends up exploding and pretty much destroying Toffee and the castle with it. But later it seems that a horse that wants to be a unicorn for some reason gets into the wand and revives it, and she has a brand new wand ready for season 2. The parents are glad she's okay and she pretty much goes back home with the Diaz's, but Star's mom starts to worry about if they're doing the right thing. We also get this interesting parallel with Glossaric.
Cleaved? Now that's a funny word. You can cleave something apart, or you can cleave something together.
And considering that the wand has been cleaved, and of what happens later in the series, he wasn't just talking about this wand. This is probably another one of the most powerful episodes of the show. It showed a lot about Star, and about a little about Toffee, which is saying a lot because we still don't know anything about this lizard lawyer, and it shows how far Star will go to save her friends. It was a roller coaster ride of emotions and danger, and it pretty much gets you hyped up for season 2.